Hello and welcome to Arts Play Radio once again. Again, I'm remarkably surprised to find that I haven't been immediately kicked off the platform as soon as I start things up, which it's kind of a record. Maybe it's the one benefit of the Muskification of the platform. We shall see. Very excited to be back this week because last week we were at NFT London, or more specifically, we were at Luxapalooza, where I got to meet a whole heap of people, along with my co-host, who will be with us soon, Eski. I'm hoping he'll be with us soon anyway. I'm in trouble if he's not, because I assume that he will be able to ask the same questions that he did last time while we were there in real life with our guest tonight. So Luxapalooza was a little gathering that we had at a pub in Mayfair, where we got to meet a whole bunch of people that we were hoping to meet IRL, as the kids all say these days. It was excellent, really. Drinks, chats, art being made by Safety First, and lots of pieces up on the walls. And one of the people we got to meet was the man I'm about to introduce to you now. And he's a very interesting and exciting dude who goes by the name of Popsto. Popsto, welcome.
Thank you, May. Thank you. It's so nice to be here. How are you doing?
I'm okay, man. How are you?
Good, good. I would lie if I would say I had energy at the moment, but I'm coping. So, but anyway, anyway, excited to be here and talk to you again.
Awesome. Well, I guess one of the reasons why you're tired is that you're a couple of hours ahead of me here. Where are you? You're in northern Finland, is that right?
Yeah, yeah, Northern Finland, and the whole traveling from last week and the rec show and everything, like it took its toll on me, and this week it's been quite a busy week at work, so overall been quite a lot, but you know, feeling good and excited,
Awesome.
nevertheless.
Excellent. Well, I won't keep you up too late, but we'll go through some of the stuff we were talking about the other day because I thought it was pretty interesting. And why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about who you are, to sort of the whatever extent you feel comfortable with, and the kind of art that you make. How do you describe it to people when they come up and ask you about it?
Yeah, so I'm popsto from Northern Finland, time-lapse photographer, and at work I do videography, so TV commercials and stuff. So heavily focused on visuals done with a camera. I've been filming overall for almost 10 years now, and yeah, I mean filming nature, like I do time lapses from nature mainly, of the Finnish scenery over here, so forests and the lovely peaceful sceneries. And yeah, time lapse photography started for me like a while back. It's been like 6 years or something. Before that, I took just photos, but then I started to dabble into time lapse, and it basically was because of the reason that I just wanted to, chill for a bit. So I went to a spot in the nature, set up my camera on its tripod, and just let it do its thing. And at that time, I can just be there without a phone for like 30 minutes and just be with in my own thoughts and enjoy the peacefulness. So I think that's a pretty compact introduction to who I am and what I do.
Yeah, man. And what you do is pretty spectacular, I think, in results wise. I mean, I'm looking at some of your work now, and there's these really vivid, colorful time lapse images that some of them are northern lights, some of them are to do with sort of snowfield scenes, the skyscapes and things like that. And it's kind of it's a thing I haven't seen done so effectively in the sort of NFT space. Was it that sort of desire for a unique like perspective that made you think of doing this in the first place?
Yeah, actually it was. So I started minting my stuff like early summer. Minted my first one in July, but before that, I started this Twitter account in May. So before that, I really like tried to think of things how to be different since there's so many photographers in this NFT scene nowadays. So everyone's doing photos. So I didn't want to do that. I do have a lot of good photos, but I wanted to stand out. And, funny enough, the answer was in front of my eyes, basically, because of the time lapses. I didn't just realize it. It took a while. So yeah, that was the the point that I wanted to take and bring forward, and also cause making time lapses and overall the whole process is so much more fun and exciting and challenging as well. So that way also like I really love doing that.
That's like for me, it makes sense that would be the case, but like I guess you are surrounded by the potential for interesting things happening if you're out that way, like so close to nature. Is it kind of a sort of meditative process for you getting out there? You say you're sitting there without a phone. Is it a means for you to kind of, in a new agey sort of way, focus a little bit that you couldn't do in a sort of urban environment?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like it's like just the best feeling to just go shoot and be alone there and just take it all in with the nature. Like overall, we know that nature has a healing effect, even when you just go for a short walk for 10 or 15 minutes. So when I spend like hours there, it's just a completely like very deep experience of just slowing down. Like the 101 collection I have is called Slow Down, and the motto that I push forward is slow down, basically, and that comes from that my personal experience of wanting to slow down with the nature and while shooting those time lapses.
And so, what's your process then? How do you go about do you like finding a location where you want to do this and planning what the sort of image will be and how long does that take you?
It depends. Like sometimes I can, come across something like very cool with the light, for example, at a different, like particular location that looks cool, and then I just, grab my gear and I already know at what time and where to be. But usually it's like I plan a different, or I plan my shots like beforehand. Like I put down on notes like I want this shot, but I don't know like at which time or where at that point. I just know like what kind of scenery I want to shoot, and then I start to look through the places I've been where I haven't shot and whether they would fit it or not. Sometimes I look through Instagram. Sometimes I ask my other friends here in Finland that I know from the nature photography scene. So it kind of depends, but it's a long process. Let's say it like that, to come from the idea and actually find a location, nail the weather, the composition, the settings, all that, and then actually go shoot and edit it. So like let's say probably from 15 to 12 to 15 time lapses, like one is one of those like very very good ones that gets the wow effect. So definitely like not easy.
Yeah, and you were saying to me the other day that it's not just a matter of sort of setting your camera up where you want it and letting the time pass and the shots get taken. You're constantly on the lookout for changes in light and that sort of thing so you can make adjustments so everything flows together as a final product. Is that the case?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, especially if there's even a little bit of like hard changes in light, like if it's cloudy when I start shooting and then the sun comes up somewhere, like it completely changes everything. It makes everything so much more harder. Uh, so yeah, like when I'm shooting, I still need to be near the camera and aware of what's happening, and so yeah, like I need to adjust, like often need to adjust settings while I shoot, and the more I need to change them, the more difficult it is from in the post processing.
Yeah, that makes sense. From a slightly nerdy perspective, and I'm sure we'll have people who are interested in this kind of thing listening, especially on the re-listen when we post this to our YouTube and SoundClouds. What gear are you using? What sort of equipment, like camera wise and post processing, are you using?
So I have a slider, time lapse slider, like made specifically for this. Like I don't, it's a very, very old one. So I can't remember the name, or I don't think I even know the name of the manufacturer. The slider is from a friend that is actually is part of the Slowdown collection. Very, very good friend of mine that I've learned a lot throughout the years, and the slider is from him that I purchased a few years back. Camera-wise, I use Sony cameras with different lenses. Usually it's pretty wide, so 24, 35 millimeter, something like that.
Yeah,
Aperture changes quite a lot depending on the light and scene. Sometimes it's like f4, sometimes f8. Sometimes I use ND. So it really depends on what I shoot and where and at what time. And then I use Premiere, After Effects, and then one specific program for editing the time lapse and putting it together. Also Lightroom. So it's a long process as a whole.
I was going to ask. Like, I've been thinking about this actually. Are you looking for like scenes where the end product kind of loops slightly and it feels like there's less of a jarring start again if it's used in that way. Is that something that's in your mind as you're sort of editing these things?
So do you mean like a looping time lapse from like?
Yeah, or like, or even just how they display on Foundation and it does kind of loop, but some of them work in a way that looks almost like a looping GIF.
Yeah, I mean that is certainly a way. Like Foundation is hard in a way because it's like it's limited to 50 megabytes. So I mean, when we time lapses are like big 4K files, so compressing that to under 50, oftentimes it's kind of hard. So far, I've managed to do it. Um, but yeah, like the loop thing, it's I don't think about that too much. I'm just concerned or focusing on getting the best possible result of the scene and with the weather and all that. So, but yeah, actually, that's kind of sparked an idea, like whether I could try at some point, like when I have this slider that moves the camera from one end to another, and when it does that, I've never started a time lapse like when it reaches the end, so it would go backwards and then fit those together to make a long time lapse that basically loops. I mean, yeah, that could be cool.
Yeah, it'd be interesting at least to give it a try.
Yeah, yeah.
So how long are you talking as an estimation of the combination of shooting and then your sort of editing and the time spent thinking about it for each piece? It seems like it might be quite intensive, right?
Yeah, and like if I count, the traveling, it could easily be, a whole weekend of shooting and
Yeah.
then editing for a couple days. But, let's say like at fastest, it probably is like 2 to 3 hours of shoot, and then around 2 to 3 hours of edit. So like 5 to 6 hours, like the fastest. But then, if I count on the planning and research and travels and all that, so then it's like multiple days. So
This is one of the things that always intrigues me when people get asked about how long any kind of sort of creative work takes. Is actually doing the work is often not the thing that takes up the time. It's the thinking about it and the preparing and the research and all that stuff. So it doesn't surprise me that you would say that, really.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's but I mean, I like the whole process so much, and every piece is always different. So it's very, very exciting and challenging as well. So I like it very much.
Did you study art or other sort of creative media at school? How did you get sort of fall into the photography and the videography side of things?
No, I haven't studied art. But now I'm starting to really, really like dabble into art a lot more, from doing my own thing, but also following a lot of artists in this NFT and crypto art space. Um, I got into photography just as a hobby. Really fell in love with YouTube in 2012, and from that, I just started making videos, started making photos, and then when these my long nature walks came into play at some point, I just wanted to start filming also. So that's how I got into nature photography, and here we are 6 years later, or more actually.
Yeah. And where, like on a physical sense, where do you do? I mean, I understand you're out in the wilderness a lot of the time, but when you come home, have you got a sort of studio space set up at home, or you just got a laptop that you work on? What's happening there?
Yeah, I have a gaming PC that's actually like very old, probably like 5, 6 years. So I edit my time lapses here, but I export them at work. So I mean, at work it takes like a couple hours to export, but with my PC it would take like 8 to 10 hours or something. So it's ridiculous. But yeah, I have pretty old gear at my home.
Yeah, I think people can probably relate to that. And when you are working, and this is something I'm always interested in, is are you're editing, you're selecting the frames that are going to be part of the time lapse once you've gone through them all and you've decided which ones work and which ones don't. Are you listening to music? Have you got telly on in the background? What's happening there?
That's a fun question, actually. Yeah, I listen to music quite a lot. Like, I think the average, like, from last year's Spotify Wrapped was like 2 hours per day the whole year, and I think this year hasn't been an exception. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I listen a lot of music, and with the time lapses, it's nice to just listen to music while editing and getting into the zone of making the piece come to life.
and so are these? I mean, I know you've got a full-time job, haven't you? So are they most of the work happening at weekends? Is that what? Because you need to go out and take these pictures, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, weekends and evenings. Like during the summer, we have the pleasure to have 24 hours of daylight. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I shot quite a lot at night this summer. And yeah, weekends, and now I'm actually kind of taking a bit of off from work to get more time to focus on this NFT journey and basically getting more time to do this stuff because I feel like there's big potential and I really want to put everything I have to this.
That's awesome. You mentioned again the other day we were talking about thinking about taking this into other non-traditional time lapse areas, I guess. We were talking about doing things that are maybe a bit more urban or non-nature based. Is that something you're still thinking about?
Yeah, definitely. Like I've been thinking of ways to, make more work, but also different, like more artsy stuff, and take time lapse of things and subjects that people don't necessarily don't even think about or haven't even seen. So yeah, I have quite a few ideas, but for now I'm sticking with the nature ones. I have quite a lot of good ones that I haven't posted or minted or even showed to anyone. So yeah, there's definitely a lot that I have in mind and haven't just had the time to try out.
It made me think, like when we were talking the other day, like how much potential there must be for doing, extending the creative kind of possibilities there. So I'm quite excited to see what you come up with.
Yeah, definitely. And what I love about this space, especially now in the bear market, is so like all of us that stick around at the moment, like have really good potential to stand out and be, like big creators in the next bull run. And now it's a lot easier to connect with different artists and you like in general just stand out from the Twitter. And what I love a lot is that many artists are so open to new ideas, and I have this one collab coming, which is like very just before this was finishing up with it, and it's so cool. Like I really love mixing like completely different styles, and just coming up with stuff that people haven't seen before.
Yeah, I got to see a sneak preview of this, and I really recommend everyone to keep an eye out for it. It's going to look really cool. One question that we like to ask on here is, and I don't know how it applies actually to photography, but always I'm interested in knowing how you know when a piece is finished. Like, is there, and I guess it's the same thing, especially when you're selecting images and knowing how long these things will last. How do you know when you're done? How do you know when you're done editing?
Yeah, it's a tough one because I mean, throughout the years, I've kind of you know gotten pretty good at killing my darlings, so to speak.
Yeah,
Like if I see like a time lapse isn't going to be good, like if I've shot it like with wrong settings or uh, like even if everything went well during the shoot, but if it just doesn't click for me in the edit, and if I think like it's not that special, then I might not even edit it. So yeah, I do pretty. I'm pretty harsh on myself on the quality control, and I scrapped quite a lot of pieces, and oftentimes it's pretty annoying. Like if I've spent like a weekend shooting something and then it just doesn't work, and I might try it, but then again, it's just wasting time if I spend another 4 hours on the post and then it's just not good. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's with everything. Like if you do it something for years, you kind of get the hunch and the eye for stuff that, oh, like this works or this doesn't. So yeah, I think that's the best way I can put it.
it makes sense. I guess it's learning, knowing what to throw away is half the skill, right? The the other, last thing I wanted to ask you, I guess, is what are your ambitions? Where are you hoping to take this stuff?
I mean, the dream would be to be able to do this full time at some
Yeah,
point. And like, it's so crazy because I've been doing this, for almost 10 years, as I said in the beginning, and I've been just sharing to these, traditional platforms. And yeah, I mean, some pieces have gotten likes, some don't, but I think I've made in total like 1.5k euros in almost 10 years. And
yeah.
now with the NFTs, we have this whole new market and whole new way of collecting digital art, and it's just it's amazing. Like honestly, before NFTs, I thought that there was no way I could do an artist career, but now it's looking a whole lot different. So I'm very, very grateful and excited and motivated to work towards that.
Well, I think your work is really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where the next steps take you, and in particular, the reception that this new collaboration that you've done receives. So, wanted to say thank you very much, Popsto. I think everyone should check out your work and share it around. And yeah, we'll be eagerly keeping an eye on where you go from here.
Thank you. And honestly, like it was so cool meeting you uh, in real life in London and speaking. Like we spoke like what, like 5 hours, and
Yeah,
still felt like it wasn't enough. So, I mean, thanks for the opportunity. I mean, it's amazing to be here.
no problem at all. Thank you. And we will be back with more Arts Play Radio next week. I think I'm likely to be speaking with, I think it's meant to be Empress Trash. If not, it'll be someone else equally as interesting. So thanks once again for listening in. Thank you, Popsto, for joining me. And we'll be back next week. This will be available on YouTube and on our SoundCloud pages, as well as being here on Twitter Spaces for you to listen again. Thanks very much and enjoy your evening. Night night.